Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Velero Community Meeting / Open Discussion. Today is July 28th, 2020, and per usual, we're going to start with status updates and then dive into the discussion topics. Let me share my screen so you all can see the meeting notes, and let's kick it off. All right, first off on status updates, we have Carlisia.
I guess my first status update is that I have a new computer, and oh my God, the difference. I was severely handicapped, man. So I'm on community support this week. I changed with Ashish because I planning on taking PTO next week. And I spent some time giving the Velero Helm repo some TLC. It is up to date now with version 1.4 of Velero because it wasn't. And there's also news related to that. We should be more, have more bandwidth to be on top of that repo with, addressing requests or anything that comes up. And besides that, so support and continue finishing up the ServerStatusRequest migration to kubebuilder. That's it. Oh, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Do you have anything that you would like some help with this week before you head off on PTO?
Not particularly, no.
All right.
I don't
awesome. Any questions, comments for Carlisia? All right. Ashish.
I think Ashish had to skip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
looks
see
like
him on.
Yeah, it looks like he's on dad duty.
So
I know he's.
Do you want to cover any of the items there, Nolan, or do you want to jump over to yours?
Just real quickly, what he's got written here. I know he's been doing some stuff for getting the restore hooks work going. He's made some tweaks to the backing up pod volumes using restic by default. Some folks raised some issues with this in the Slack channel. They were testing it and found some secrets and config maps were being included, and so they requested those get excluded. This was the original PR, but then Ashish made a follow-up this last week and excluded secrets and config maps. And then I think, I don't remember the number. I think it's back on the update. Maybe he didn't link it. Yeah. But yeah, people have been testing main, which thank you very much. Also, he opened 2770, which was a discussion about how do we include some of the pods pod volumes for restic. So there was discussion on Slack, and we would definitely like input from folks on this. It pertains largely to figuring out if we want to add a new method for selecting volumes for inclusion in restic, or if this was asking for a way to support inclusion using our standard tags, or our standard inclusion logic that we already have. So if this using label selection against pods to get everything attached to it, using the default to restic flag would be useful. Please vote on that.
Hey, question. So at one point there was a move to move restic to be like a peer of the volume snapshotters. So it's not like special anymore. So would we want to have the same mechanism for selecting restic then?
At that point, I think the selection would change. I think Steve had tried that, and it was kind of like a research spike. I would have to double check with Steve to see where that's at. But that's not merged. That's not like actual. That was investigative, and I don't know the current status of that. But if we took restic and made it a volume snapshot, I think that would make a lot of this stuff less special. So yeah, it would. I think it would be a bigger design change than what this issue is proposing.
True, but if we're going in that direction anyway.
Right. I don't know that we're going in that direction yet, but it's worth thinking about.
Yeah, undoing this wouldn't be a big deal, right?
This particular one, I don't think so. This one, yeah, this one is, I think, basically the genesis was a user was asking, hey, can I use a pod's labels to include the volumes that are attached, which I think defaultVolumesToRestic is going to get most of what they wanted anyway, which will come in 1.5, which basically says if you have that option on, any pod volume mounted on the pod will be backed up by restic, with some caveats like inline volumes won't be included, and free floating PVs that aren't mounted to anything won't be included. But you won't have to do the annotation anymore.
Right, that actually sounds good. That principle of least surprise.
Yes.
Yeah. And Dave, we are always taking a look at feature enhancement requests and net new feature requests. And so this is one that we have in the backlog. It's currently labeled as unprioritized, just because we do have a few items prioritized for the next releases. But provided that there's bandwidth, and the amount of requests that we're getting in for a similar type of issue from the community, we're always taking a look to make sure that we're triaging the priorities appropriately. But sounds like, the current restic functionality that's going to go out with 1.5, the improvement there should address a large amount of some of the use cases folks are looking for. So we'll continue to make improvements on restic. You can see on our roadmap that we've actually got restic improvements, scope to be defined, that will be included in 1.6 also. So this may make it in.
Sure, sounds good.
Cool. Yeah, so one refresher about that issue that we have open, that Steve started looking at, we started talking about for making restic work just like another plugin. There is a major trade-off there, which is on one hand, but in a positive way, things will be uniform, but on the other hand, then we will lose some features that people will use. So that really needs to be looked at. I really like the idea of having things uniform, because we just keep these two parallel things, and it's a lot of work, and restic is always behind. But we have to see if it's worth losing the features that we'll be losing, which I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, these things are incremental, building on top of what we have. Whereas the move to putting restic in a plugin, a volume snapshot plugin proper, is a bigger lift, and one that I think would take longer. So I think it's something we need to investigate and like properly define the trade-offs, and communicate to folks, hey, this is going to affect data. So like I don't want to make that decision now or say that that's what we're doing. I'm just going to put it out there that it's an option for later, but like I don't want to say one way or another whether it would be like 1.6, 1.7, 1.8. Yeah, it's something we're thinking about, but I'm not sure exactly what all would change because it's been a while since I've looked at it.
Sure, fair enough. No, I just remember that we would talk. I'd heard about that going on, so I just wanted to see if that was still the thrust.
Yeah, I think that kind of lost some steam. But if it's interesting to folks, we can see if that slots in because as Stephanie mentioned, like the roadmap item is kind of very broad. It's improvements to Restic, so that may be an improvement. We'd have to see.
Nolan, this is Vishnu. I think probably one of the previous meetups I was saying, but missed out in putting an issue. Yeah, probably I'll put it there. Basically, if you have a mixed set of volumes which have their own Velero plugins, applying restic or not, I mean, it's like, I think right now it says it applies to everything, every volume. So I'll put out an issue. I mean, I remember now. I forgot to put it. I'll do that.
Okay. Yeah. Was the concern that you don't want it to apply to every volume?
Yeah. If let's say I have few local volumes and then few AWS EBS volumes, so I mean it may better to offload which you have a plugin for it rather than applying for every volume mounted to the pod.
In your deployment cases, have you seen users with multiple storage drivers like that?
Mainly in the cloud case where we have AWS and EBS disk will be there, and few the local P host path will be used for logs to store that kind of things, which are kind of
Okay.
for debugging kind of things.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense then. Okay. Yeah, if you could file an issue for that, then we can follow up there.
Sure.
Yeah, I think most times folks aren't really mixing and matching drivers, but in that case where you have like a local volume that is like Scratch or logs, and then you have the cloud for your actual data, you could lean on the plugin for that. So yeah, if we get an issue for that, for enhancing this feature, that would be awesome.
Sure, Nolan, I'll do that.
Cool. If we don't have anything else, I think that's it for Ashish's updates.
Sounds good. You want to continue with yours?
Yeah. So for mine, I was doing a lot of internal stuff for some products that are utilizing Velero. On the open source front, I was looking at some CI improvements, hoping to get some workflow stuff automated. Unfortunately, some of that doesn't work with GitHub Actions due to the way it manages secrets. I was really hoping we could get some GitHub Actions that like assign reviewers and assign assignees and all that, but doesn't look like it's going to work the way I was hoping. So I'll have to put that to the side for now. Been doing PR reviews and issue triage. I haven't gotten to your issue yet. I'm sorry. I'm going to start working from the oldest as I can. I did not, we had discussed last week about the DeleteItemAction / DeleteItemAction design doc. I had not gotten a chance to get back to that and revise it. I'm intending to get back to that and either update it today or tomorrow, more likely tomorrow, if I'm being realistic. But my intention is to take that, update it so that it will be backwards compatible with how Velero works today, which is to say, if you don't have any deletion item or delete item action plugins installed, it'll just work the way it does today. And then if you do, give the download the backup tarball and give each relevant item to the plugins that are interested. But I will get that design doc updated. And then I was on community support last week, and I don't think I have a whole lot else to bring up here.
Do you have anything that you would like reviewed or any blockers this week?
We've got the restore hooks work going on, and I know Andrew, I don't know if he's on the call. Doesn't look like. Andrew was working on that. So that stuff should be, that's been moving along pretty well. Ashish and Andrew have been driving a lot of that. I did a little bit of it. Carlisia did a lot of the Helm stuff. Thank you, Carlisia. So I don't think I have anything in particular at the moment that's a burning need to get reviewed. The delete item action thing is like the highest thing on my list, and that's on me to get updated. So I don't believe so.
All right, sounds good. Anyone have any questions, comments for Nolan? All right, then we're diving into the discussion topics. Who wants to take on the first one?
Me.
Yay.
So we noticed that, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing, which I probably am, Genteng was doing a phenomenal job on the Helm repo. He was asking people to make changes that were needed. He was opening PRs. He seemed very knowledgeable and very engaged. So it was very natural and easy for us to decide to invite him as a maintainer, which he accepted. And now we have, besides the Velero maintainers, we have 2 external maintainers for our Helm repo, Genteng and Carlos. So between the 3 of us, we knocked down a bunch of PRs, and so I think we're in a good place now. We're not at inbox 0 yet, but I think we're gonna get there pretty soon.
Fantastic news. And I think this one is yours as well, Carlisia.
Oh yes, so this is a recurring, I spaced out. So this is a recurring issue that we're going to have in the discussion topics every meeting. We weren't very intentional about making code not exposed to public use, but now we're trying to change that and put our codes inside the internal folder. For people who are familiar with Go, know that that's just internal, doesn't get exposed, is not accessible to be used as libraries. So we do have some code that are intentionally made public for people to reuse, and it's listed on this issue. If you are using code, if you are using Velero as a library and importing code that is not in those packages, please let us know. We are just trying to avoid breaking code for anyone. We'll address it somehow. But first of all, we need to know.
Awesome, thank you. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to bring up on today's call before we dive into the contributor shoutouts?
I just want to say one thing.
Sure.
completely forgot to compile a list of people who made contributions on the Helm repo. I am just realizing I should have done that. But after we finish, I will do that, and we'll do that next week.
Nope, it's there. It's already there.
Oh, it's already there? Oh,
I
how did
updated
that
my
happen?
little shout out script.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
All right, let's dive into them.
So the first couple, we've, like I said, Andrew Reed has been working on the restore hook stuff. So the first round of restore hook work has been on just adding fields to our data structs. So this is kind of laying groundwork. It's not the actual restore hook logic, but thank you very much, Andrew, for engaging there. And I know he and Ashish have been discussing stuff on other PRs. The next one was from the Josh Babu. Not sure his full name, Tejas Babu. This was addressing another open issue that someone had filed about adding start and completion timestamps to restores, which we had on backups, but we didn't add to restores. So this PR was very much appreciated because this that allows people to look at how long a restore took. So very much appreciated. Thank you. The Helm chart, I don't know, Carlisia, if you want to, you're a little bit closer to these, so I don't know if you want to go through these.
Yeah, I can go through that. So the first one was it's just when you upgrade a release of a Helm chart, there were things that needed to be included in our chart to make it work that weren't there. So that's what this PR did. It's just some pre-hooks, some post-hooks, and some other changes. So yeah, that was very helpful. So that was by Genting, and another PR that he submitted and got merged was to actually do the upgrades to bring the current Helm chart to 1.4, because there were some CRDs that changed. And another thing, is it on this PR? No. So he also spruced up the test, the CI test in that PR. I don't remember what that is.
Oh, this one was the white space issue.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you know, it's a small PR, but that makes all the difference. So that was by Mr. Friesix. Hard to tell what the name is. Arthur. Okay. So Cesar submitted this PR to add schedule tags, schedule labels. And so this was a neat PR. So before we had the CRDs for, when we migrated to Helm 3, we needed to have a directory with the CRDs for Helm 2 in another directory with CRDs for Helm 3. So this person found a way to just have one directory, which is perfect. So that cleaned up things a little bit. So greatly appreciated Tomahawk 28. G. Hugh Buck. Okay. And that was also adding a label, having the ability to add configuration for the affinity, not a label, an affinity configuration for the deployment. Yeah, that was all great. Those were all great PRs, and yeah, like as you see, there were a bunch of them. And we have about 5 now. A couple are duplicates. We'll see. Maybe we'll get them knocked out this week.
Awesome. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything to add before we close out the meeting? All right. Well, have a fantastic rest of the week, everyone. Have a good one, and see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.